Welcome back to Outdoor Life with the Kings. This is Ty, and we're in the shop, so not very outdoors, but it rained about 1.25 inches today. It rained pretty much all day, so everything's a muddy mess, so I'm not even going to try to do anything outside. But good news, my extra set of hinges, I'd ordered 2 hinges to put in these 2 old English style gates. I ordered those back on April 21st, and here we are on May 26th, and finally the second set came in. Some problems with back order, that sort of thing. If you order anything online lately, you know how that goes. But anyway, those came in today, so I'm going to get those put on this extra gate. I built a throw-over latch, an 18-inch throw-over latch to latch the 2 gates. So we're going to put that on tonight and get everything ready for building another gate. It's going to be a smaller gate, 67-inch gate. It goes to my neighbor's pool. So anyway, we're going to work on that some tonight too. So I'll try to set the camera up and talk through kind of a couple little, I guess you call them shortcuts. When you're working with things by yourself, you kind of work through things. So we'll try that tonight. And thanks for tuning in. Click like and subscribe. So I bought a new planer last week, and it's been really cool. I bought this one at Lowe's. It's a Win brand, and I've been real pleased with it. My first planer. It turns boards like this rough cut white oak here into finished boards that we're going to build the next gate out of. These boards right here, I don't know if you can see those very well or not, but anyway, they've turned out really well. And a big pile of sawdust that we've got to clean up here in the floor. So we'll do that first before we do anything else, because it's just everywhere. But one bad thing about using a planer is it puts sawdust everywhere, even though I had it attached to my shop vac here, but it didn't matter. Sawdust everywhere. We're going to work on that first. Stay tuned. So here's the hardware. This is called GateMate. There's a lot of websites out there that have this old heavy-duty hardware. Each of these gates weighs 120 pounds a piece. So it's an 18-inch strap hinge and a 5-inch hinge at the bottom. So first thing I want to do is put on a new saw blade. I don't need it for the gates, obviously, but the next project requires a new saw blade. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like I'm constantly replacing saw blades. Every time I go to start a project, I have a dull saw blade. So keep enough saw blades on hand, and I always keep one sharp, ready to go. If you're watching this, you've watched some other videos, you'd know that I'm brand new to YouTube. I'm also brand new to video, and so Stuart let me borrow his GoPro. So we're trying this GoPro out tonight, and we'll see how it goes, and maybe Stuart will let me keep borrowing it. Putting this throw-over latch on. It's an 18-inch throw-over latch. You can buy one for about 40 to 50 bucks, depends on the website you go to. But I'm too cheap to do that. I always like to make my own. So I took some scraps of this piece and made my own latch here, drilled my hole here, and it will work the same. It'll throw over and latch the 2 gates together. But I got to get this bolt through, and working by myself, I learned a little shortcuts. I'm going to take this one here, put it right there, and put it through just far enough to hold this one. Because what I want to do is I want to put a washer on the outside and a washer on the inside. So I want this to look like so. I'm not going to put a washer on the outside here because of this shoulder here will actually sit right there. So I'm going to go here and catch a washer on the inside right there. Got to pull this back far enough. I'm going to try to get these washers to stay in place. And hopefully I can just get one thread to hold that and keep it all the way down to go in my hole here. So got to get it just right to hold in place, and then move around and find my hole here. Where'd my hole go? There it is. And then move this one down far enough to find the hole on that side and go through that washer. Drop that washer. So you always start with extra washers because you're always going to drop 2 or 3, right? So anyway, here we go. See if we can't drop it down and catch it with this side as it comes down. And then try to catch that washer. So I'm using this bolt over here to catch the washer and then push it through with that one. There we go. And then I'm going to pick those washers up and put a washer on the back side of this, and then put a nut to hold this throw-over in place. This is a 6-inch bolt. I wish I'd gone with a 5-inch now. I've got a little too much bolt sticking out there. I'll probably tighten it up. Not too tight because we want to move, obviously. And then I may cut that bolt off because I don't want too much sticking out on the back side. All right, we'll move on to something else. We've got hinges. They're built to go on just like this. Pardon the camera work there. I always have to get a pair of a quick grip or clamps here to try to help me be an extra set of hands. put this in place here. And I've already marked it once, but I'm trying to get better in my old age to measure twice and cut once, as that saying goes. Especially when you spend as much time as I have on this gate or set of gates. The last thing I want to do is start drilling a hole in this thing and it not line up. So I've marked it here at the top and the bottom. I've already marked these holes. Like I said, you should be able to see those holes there. Adjust that down. And I've got these holes marked there, there, and there. Get the bump this loose here. Get it in place. And what I want to make sure of is sliding on me just a little bit. Ooh, now it's sliding on me a lot. All right, so get that in place. Clamp my clamp there. So that holds that for me. So I'm going to measure from the top here. What I do, I can't see these numbers very well where that is, and I always just mark it up a little bit like this to go up to, say, the next measure. So 3. I got 1 3/8 to the top, 5, 1 3/8 to the bottom there. So that's centered, and then mark my holes here, here, and here, and I'll drill through. I've got a bit here. I've got a 1/2 inch bit on my drill. The bolts that come with this, the hardware that comes with this, are 3/8. So I'll take this off and drill this through. And again, that's a little bit scary when you spend as much time as I did on getting this thing right. The last thing you want to do is drill a hole in it that's not right. So what I do is get it started and just try to get it as level and straight as possible. I don't drill all the way through. I drill through until I feel the point coming through my finger. And yes, I have drilled a hole in my finger, so I try to be careful. Drill till you feel the point, then stop, turn around on the other side, and drill it through this way as to not bust through and mess up the wood around. In this case, your hinge is going to cover, but I still don't want to bust through this pretty white oak here. This is from a friend of mine who owns a sawmill. Guy gave him this white oak. So he gave me this. We shaped it, planed it, got it all in good shape. And so it's pretty tough wood. It's been rough on the saw blade. So anyway, I'm going to drill these through. I'll fast forward through the drilling, let you see how that goes. All right, so I got my holes drilled. I'm gonna come through and I'll pop these bolts through. Get this lined up here. And I'm gonna get it straight. Assuming my hole is straight, you gotta get that straight, okay? And make sure these shoulders get seated on the hardware here. And this hardware, they did not come with washers. I don't know why, but they didn't. But I feel like I need washers on there. So if you're like me, hopefully you are, you've got a pile of washers, nuts and bolts and things of that nature, screws, that you can go through a time like this to get what you need. So anyway, I dug through and found some washers that fit, and I will put those washers on there and tighten those down. As you can see, there's a little play here in this gap. When I tighten that up, it's obviously going to pull that play out of there. This is designed for a 3-inch gate, and I started with 3 inches here, but this was rough white oak when I started. And once I planed it all out, I got down to 2 3/4 or something like that. So I got about a 1/4 inch play. I think they would have given you a little play anyway, but because I planed it out, I got a little more. If you're not familiar with these hinges, how they work, they set down. You can see I hope you can see in the floor over there. You mount this on your pole, it sits down on there, and it will swing on that 3/4 inch post that goes right up through there like that. So let me tighten those down, and we'll move down to the bottom one. All right, so the GoPro battery died. I was so eager to use it that I borrowed it from Stuart. It wasn't really charged. I put it on charge for 15, 20 minutes and ran out here to the shop to put this hardware on. So anyway, hardware on both gates and the throw over hinge. Show you how that works here now. There. So this end will go against that end of the other one. And Lord willing and the weather holds, I'll get a buddy of mine to come help me. We'll hang these two gates tomorrow and I can't wait. So anyway, that's that on these. I'm about to move on to building another set of gates. And I'll try to do better. My 16-year-old taught me with my iPhone, the reason I was getting bad video before was because I was filming vertically. So now I'm holding it sideways and hopefully get better film. So anyway, better videos from here on out, I promise. Hope you're watching. Click the like, click the subscribe, and more to come. So here's the basic layout of this gate. Nothing's been cut. That diagonal piece is not the piece I'll use. I've got to cut a longer one. But that's the basic layout. It's 67 inches. And here's my very, very complex plans that I drew up. So I got to have, let's see, another one of this piece cut to go in the middle here. And then two of those. Or I may just leave it with two. I don't know. That's the beauty of making your own. You can do it how you want. So all these joints here, I've got to drill and do mortise and tenon there and mortise and tenon each of these up through here. So that's the rough layout, how it's going to look. I'll have to plane these stiles going through here like that. I have to plane those. So a lot to be done yet, and we'll get started tonight and see how it goes slowly but surely, I hope. Working on my layout, I'm going to start with the keel post. I've laid it out. I'm going to start at the bottom here at 3 inches. Hope you can see my marks. And then found my center. I'm going to come up the distance. This is the bottom tenon. I'll drill holes all the way down through here. And I got to come up here to my top. And I want the top of my gate to come in at 48 inches. And we're going to come down a ½ inch and make this mark. We'll have a tenon there too. So that tenon will come in the top right there. And in the bottom, I'm going to move this down because the tenon is going to be 2 3/8. So it'll come down to here. And then another ½ inch will come to here. So this will be the top of that top ridge going across there. This will be the bottom of that top ridge. And then the tenon will be a ½ inch in on each side. So this will fit nice and secure in there. And we'll do the same thing. Now the rest of them, we'll do the same thing for each hole here. And I've got one at the top, one at the bottom. And I got two other stiles that's going to go in here. I'll just split this difference and make them in the center of that. And I'll get this keel post laid out. Once I get the keel post laid out, I'll turn the other side, the end of the gate, and lay it on here and lay it out against this one, so they'll be sure to match all the way across. So the key is getting this keel post laid out correctly, and then we'll get the other side laid out. I just noticed a big knot right here. You know, you're dealing with free wood. It was, again, from a sawmill friend of mine. So you never know what you're going to get. But that big knot is going to pose a little bit of a problem. So that may have to work on my layout here. I think I'll be able to go below it on this one and come above it on this one. I think I'm going to miss it. I think it's going to be okay. So we'll work on that as we go. Some more on our layout here. From the top of this bottom rail to the bottom of the top rail, it's 38 3/4. If you divide 38 3/4 by 3, you'll get your distances in each section. So that comes out to be 12.9. So I've marked those here and here. And that's where the center of each of these rails will go. So then I can go here, and I know it's 2.5. Let's go 12 here. So I know it's 2.5. So I'm gonna go 1 1/4 to here. All right, move right there. 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and that'll be that rail. Come to this one, we'll move that up to 24, 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and that'll be that rail. So I'll find the center here and do that. Now this one is supposed to be 2.5. So the center would be 1 1/4. The way to do this, get out of frame there. The way to find the center is do 1 1/4 from this side, turn it over and do 1 1/4 from this side. And if those marks don't hit the same spot, make your vertical line in between the 2 marks that you make. So what I'll do here is I've got my marks made here and here. I'll make my center line here, and I'll have this one laid out ready to drill. With those two, this one's laid out and ready to drill. Then I'll be able to drill my holes and then start the tedious task of taking a chisel and taking out to square it out for my mortise and tenon. I do not have a cool jig or drill bit that makes that square hole. So I have to do it the old-fashioned way. Drill a round hole and then take a chisel and chisel that out. So I am not going to let you sit here and wait and watch me do that, because that could take forever. So I'm going to mark these, drill the holes, show you that, and then start chiseling. I made my layout, and then I drilled my first hole here. This line was a little off, so I had to come just outside that line and center it on this line. Then I marked my hole, and this hole needs to be 1.5 inches deep. So I've made a mark both on my drill bit at 1.5 inches and on this thing at 1.5 inches. That way, as I drill, I can stick it in there, check it, and see if I'm short or not. Next thing I'm gonna do is, this drill bit's kind of dull. This white oak is so hard. So based on the last holes I drilled and now drill on this one, I'm gonna take my file and I'm gonna work on this drill bit a little bit and file, get that sharper. Sharper bits cut so much better and take so much less time. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll drill this hole, come to this hole, and then try to get, this is going to come to here. And I may try to, if I'll be able to, I know I'll be able to do one more in the middle. I may try to get 2. And then I'll do the same thing here and here. All right, I'll work on those and be back in a minute. All right, so I have the holes drilled for each of the 1, 2, 3, and 4 rails going across. I have my shop vac going so I could suction out all the holes I went. So now I just have to take my chisel and connect the dots on each of these places here. So I'll get my chisel out and start hammering away. Well, it is about 9:30 p.m. I got all 4 of these holes for the mortises done. These 3 are ready. I've got to cut the tenon in the top rail so it'll fit in the mortise there. But I'm gonna call it quits for tonight and get some of this video uploaded and start back on this tomorrow night after we get our gates hung. Thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe.